I feel like that would be intentional.
Not when you're my age. I've got the age.
Clock, I'll call the meeting to order. Christine, you have the roll.
Yep.
We can dispense with the pledge. This is a work session unless there's a disagreement with that. We'll move to approving this evening's agenda.
I'll move to approve this evening agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries, the agenda is approved. First up. Presentations, that's a new topic, but I feel like it could become a thing. We have Tammy from the HRDC. Thank you for being.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pass out our brochures and my business card right out the bat, so. In case you think it's important enough to contact in the future.
We will be.
Oh, I'm sure. Knowing you. Boy. The brochure just tells a little bit about the Headwaters Regional Development Commission and what we do there. There is a place in there that talks about about the transportation. There's two of us, and I do believe you probably have already met Tony Clares. He really, they call us TMT, Tony and Tammy, Double Trouble, transportation team, you know, sir, all those together. I know, so Tony really does like infrastructure, trails, safe routes, those kind of things. Where my role as the mobility manager is, how do we get people from point A to point B? So I'm a mobility person, and with that, really is working with the Headwaters region on transportation gaps. Where are there transportation gaps in our areas? And a little bluebirdie told me that Blackduck has some concerns about individuals, their citizens that are struggling getting back and forth to where they need to go. So I'm here to talk to you about that and what maybe I can help you out with that situation. First of all, Blackduck has 854 individuals. It's a pretty small rural town. Compared to Bemidji, you guys are pretty rural, but all of Beltrami is rural. I think out of the 5 counties, Bemidji is the biggest, and Park Rapids, Bagley are probably the 2 next biggest. And they do have transportation in those cities. Tri Valley from Crookston covers Bagley and Park Rapids has their own system there, public transit.
Is that one out of like Grand Forks or?
Tri Valley?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, but they oversee all of Clearwater, but they do come into Bemidji a couple times a month. But other than that, it's all northwest and sort of up and down. So Bemidji does have Pennsylvania Transit, which is their main transit system. And the thing about them is they go 10-mile radius of the city hall. And so that gets them past approximately, but no further up. Now they do have also up in Vedette area, they have a route up there that goes between like Greenbush and Vedette, that road there. And then there's Red Lake Transit for the Red Lake Tribal Nation. So we can get a person from Vedette to Red Lake down to here, but then they start a fault trip. There's nobody to take them where they need to go. So there are options, and everything comes with a cost. But as you guys know, as council members, everything has a cost to it, whether that's staff time, monetary values, or other things, so. But there are things that we can do. I've contacted the, nursing home because they should have a 50-10 vehicle. They never did get back to me, so I don't know if that's available or not, but that's really not gonna solve your issues. There's volunteer driver programs. There's nothing in your area that covers that. And so that's something that you can always look at creating, and that's something I can help you create. Also, I was in touch with adult day services because they go up to North Home Kellier area and they come through Blackduck every single day. And so they are willing to contract with individuals that if they wanted to meet them somewhere here, and say you have a citizen that needs to get to Bemidji, they would meet them at a designated spot in Blackduck, and they would take them into Bemidji. Now, once they get into Bemidji, what do? They can't use the adult day services anymore. We do have a alternate transit in Bemidji, and it's called Conifer Transit, and it's something that we created for affordable housing. And what that is that it's a 1-year pilot we're trying, that we've leased vehicles through Commute with Enterprise, which is a car rental. And then we've teamed up with workforce centers to give us the ability to use their workplace force, individuals that they're trying to find jobs for. And those are 12 weeks at the time that we would get drivers. And so between the Commute with Enterprise and the workforce center, we do have Conifer Transit. So once the residents get to Bemidji, they can use Conifer Transit to get around in Bemidji until that bus goes back up this way. The issue there is that each individual would have to sign a contract with adult day services, and there would be a cost to those rides. Now, what that cost would be, I don't know. They used to pick a young lady up that went to ODC, and it started at $15. They did drop that to $10. That's very expensive each time you want to go into the Bemidji, but it is an option. It's an option. So, unless you want to put some money into a transit system. One thing that we can look forward to is that with the expansion of Conifer Transit, it is a possibility that they come up to Blackduck once a day during the week. So Monday through Friday, they would come up in the morning, pick individuals up, bring them back to Bemidji, and then bring them back up towards, the middle, early afternoon, whenever it is, we work out those details. But so that's a possibility in the future. I don't foresee that happening within the next 3-4 months. That probably will be some before we could do something like that, because we have to secure another vehicle and 3 more drivers to be able to really expand what Conifer does. But at least if they get to Bemidji, they can use Conifer to move around. Bemidji area.
Conifer uses volunteer drive.
No, they use workforce centers.
Workforce.
Yeah. So we started out with Oshkosh, which is through Red Lake Tribal Nation. They have a TANF program, which is their temporary assistance for needy families. And if you're on that program, you qualify to be on a contract worker. So they contract these individuals on TANF to work in 2 jobs until something opens up for them within the tribe or the surrounding area. The nice thing about that is they pay the wages. Oshkosh pays the wages. And so the cost of Conifer Transit doesn't include having to pay employees. What's nice about that program though is that we have secured enough funding. So they're on the contract workers program. They want to be able to secure a job, be off the TANF program, and that's what it's there for. But we have secured funds, so we can give them training if they want their bus driver's certificate, if they want their passenger endorsement, if they want to go and get their CDL, so they can transfer into a better paying job. We have secured those funds. So really, the only cost for us is that lease, which is about $20,000 a year for a vehicle. It is not handicapped accessible, just because it's a pilot program, and they can use public transit to use a handicapped accessible. Adult day services it has to be, because it's a 50-10 rented vehicle, and I think that's probably what the nursing home has, is a 50-10, if they even have one anymore. I know years ago they did. So,
I want to say it's still in the parking lot. I think it's still there, but I'm not 100%.
but that would have to be coordination between, the city and Good Sandwiches, actually Sanford Healthcare, so. Things that I can help you out with is coordination. If you want to work with adult day services, I can help with that coordination. If there's some way that you would like to utilize Comfort Transit, that's something that I can help you coordinate. Right now, we have one driver and one vehicle, and he broke his ankle. And of course, it wasn't the left, it was the right. So, yeah, he's out for about 6 weeks. And I'm like, Nick, couldn't you have broke your left ankle, but it didn't work out that way for us. So right now, Conifer Transit is shut down, but we have a couple more drivers through the County workforce that will be starting with. So we'll be up to, actually, when it comes back, we'll have a second vehicle. And that's when we can expand.
How do these programs work? Who runs them? Who makes reservations? Who connects the people with the drivers? Who does that?
The driver is his own dispatch.
So he takes all the phone calls.
He takes all the phone calls. In the first 3 months, October through December, Conifer Transit with one driver, Monday through Friday, 7 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon. They actually have over 900 rides. And that's just for Conifer community, which is East Conifer, East Conifer, Conifer Villas, and Conifer Estates, which is 76 units. And they moved over 1,400 people in 57 days. That's how many days they were in service.
And that's not a cost to the rider?
Nope. We wanted it to be no cost because it's a pilot. We need to make sure that this is even going to be feasible. And so we secured funding to fund us for 1 year. And we've really proven, I think, that it works. It works within the area. And if that's something that we feel Blackduck would want, on their own, it's about $20,000 a year for the lease. And the nice thing about leasing a vehicle instead of buying it, they cover all maintenance and they cover all liability insurances. So you don't have to cover any extra insurance or liability on the vehicle for your drivers. And that's what's nice about leasing a vehicle. But it would be about $20,000, and then we'd have to find a driver.
Where's the vehicle stored?
It could be stored right here, if that's what you want to do. It could be stored right here in Blackduck, and it could service Blackduck residents. We'd have to find you a driver and lease a vehicle.
And it's gonna cost $20,000 a year.
That's what the vehicle costs, and that's the gas included. So we set it up with Commute to include a gas card, so we get one invoice. We get one invoice every single month, and it includes the gas and the lease. Yeah. The National Association of Development Organizations will be here, their transportation section. They're going to be coming here late June. I've worked with them before, and they're going to be working with surveys that are going to be going out to all of our county cities, and Blackduck would be included in that. And we're really going to ask people, do you even want transit. You know, you might have one or two people asking for transit, but that doesn't mean that Blackduck needs transit. You know, it's a lot of money to service a couple people, you know, even a dozen people, that's still a lot. But,
What's the number of people you need to have something like that pencil out?
depends on if you want to charge. You can charge for rides. I mean, you can recoup money that way. You can, I mean, I don't know. It's a little less than $1,700 a month. It's expensive. You end up not owning a vehicle, but you don't have to pay the insurance. You don't have to pay the maintenance. You get a brand new vehicle.
Is there a limit on mileage for the year?
Pardon?
Is there a limit on mileage for the year?
Nope. Nope, if it gets to, a certain mileage, it doesn't matter. They'll give you a different vehicle if you need a different vehicle.
But it's Monday through Friday,
That's what we have
That's what
started
you
out,
offer
Monday
right
through
now.
Friday.
so there's nothing on the weekends,
No.
nothing on the off hours, just probably 8 to 5.
No. Once we get 2 more drivers, we will extend it to 7 o'clock at night. And we will have half days on Saturdays.
Can you paint me a picture as to what the predominant rider is seeking the passage for? Where are they going? Why do they need to get there?
They go everywhere. They go to the library, they go to the courthouse, they go to the grocery store, they go to the grade schools, they go to the middle school, the high school, they go to, the liquor store, they go to restaurants, they go to community events.
And my question for that is, what do they not have where they live that they need to go there?
They live in Bemidji and they don't have transportation of their own.
Got it. So that's within the Bemidji area.
Yep.
Okay.
So Conifer, the 76 units, 94% of them are Native Americans. 55% of them do not own a vehicle or do not have reliable sources or the income to even pay a taxi. Taxis in Bemidji are very expensive, and there's only a couple of them. There's one company, and we have a couple, and there's no Lyfts, there's no Ubers. You know, there's public transportation, but you have to give at least 4 hours, if not 24-hour notice to get a ride. And so individuals who, we go to urgent care quite a bit, we go to ER quite a bit, you know, sometimes people don't think ahead either, and then all of a sudden, my kid missed this, you know, the school bus, now how do I get him to school? Well, they call public transit, because they can't call public transit, because they can't get to you. As of January of last year, of 24, I have not asked Leslie, the director of public transit, yet this year. They were 90+ driver hours short at public transit every week.
I'm not surprised. I mean, the school districts don't have drivers either.
No. But that's what's really nice about Conifer Transit is that we're going to offer them education. So if they want to become a school bus driver, if they want to work for public transit, they want to be a truck driver, they're going to get that training through us. And that's sort of a perk of being a driver.
Is there state funding to help fund that, please?
So anybody in Bemidji can use Conifer Transit?
No. Right
Just-
now,
just
it's
from-
just the
just the-
individuals that live at Conifer.
Just from the townhomes in the park.
And for those of us that are unfamiliar with that, what is that and where is that?
It's affordable housing units.
Mhm.
Like I said, there's 76 of them and they're single and multifamily.
Mhm.
And they're right behind like Home Depot, back behind Home Depot in an area there. Now, we will be extending, once we get the couple more drivers, we will be extending it to Ridgeway, which is 96 units, I think, there. And so we will be pretty much including a huge amount of affordable housing transportation for the Bemidji area. Whole Bunyan Transit has been on board from day one. They're so excited about it. You know, we've really taken the burden off from them of not being able to give rides to everybody that needs rides. And so it's been sort of a good project for Conifer, and it's been a really good project, you know, that has been helpful to public transit, and so that's just one option for you guys.
May I add?
Yes, go ahead, Scott.
So this all started with a conversation that I had with Jamie Platt over at CRC.
Mhm.
And she's the one that mentioned the need for transportation, and the biggest thing that she brought up that I don't think Tammy mentioned was rides to the clinic. Now, I understand there's a Sanford clinic here, so I'm not sure what it is. That they can't go here. Just want to turn that off, sorry. I don't know, but that's what she said. And unfortunately, she couldn't be here today, but she wanted me to let you know that she's fully on board with this and willing to do, whatever. However, she can be helpful in the process.
Well, like I said, once NATO is here, the national organization is here, and we do the surveys, we're gonna have a better view on really, does Blackduck need their own transportation? I mean, if you really have only a half a dozen people that are wanting it, that are going to use it, it can be really expensive. So,
It will be included in this survey.
yep.
Do you have any idea what percentage of your riders are medical patients, go to a clinic or hospital?
I could get those statistics for you. I would say probably a third, off the top of my head, a third of them are going to medical appointments, pharmacy, medical appointments, ER.
How are you guys paying it, right? So it's not volunteers, you.
OHG pays them.
Okay, so that's-
It's through their contract workers program. Yeah. Otherwise, you're adding about $150,000 between benefits and all of that.
Is there a predominant age range of the riders?
Adults over the age of 18. I haven't really, because we don't ask them how old they are,
Of course,
you know,
yeah.
but I do know how many children that are under the age of 18, because I have the driver document that, just for statistics,
Sure.
and,
So you do give rides to people under 18?
Mhm.
Oh,
we do ask if they're under 12, that they have a parent along with them. There are some circumstances that the person has ridden enough times that the driver and that child, I do believe he's 8. They know each other, they're comfortable with each other, and so he does take them to school and uses the bus.
Don't you think like the adult day services, that's in your phone, but that's a good opportunity, especially if people around here need transportation to like Bemidji, like Scott said. That's a good opportunity, but inside our square mileage is not that big. Don't you think a lot of it is walkable or bikeable? To get to the school, to get to the library, to get to the grocery store.
in our downtown
Inside,
area.
inside the area.
Yeah.
Yes,
You're less than 3 miles around us, so that's where my brain goes anyway. But having to get to like Bemidji, I would say, yeah,
Because you can't get into the clinic over here unless you make an appointment 2 or 3 days in advance. If you wanna go to the walking
care,
clinic,
yeah.
if your kid gets sick or, and you can't get there, there's a lot of people that don't drive here.
Right.
And,
for all those reasons. right?
yes.
Yeah,
so it'd strictly really be a transportation issue just to Bemidji.
be my thought.
And, adult day services comes here every morning and comes here every night, afternoon at about 2:30.
Mhm.
Because they bring veterans, they pick up veterans and bring them back and forth. And,
Yep, yeah.
It's a place to start,
and
and to find out, like Tammy said, on the survey, how big is our need?
Another thing about asking people about the need, would you use public transportation, or, do you need transportation, services? If they've never had it, they probably don't even think about it. Well, it's not available to us, so why would I even ask for it?
can think of a few folks in town that. You know, especially when it's 10 below zero outside, I mean, I've stopped and offered rides. To folks that were walking from the grocery store back up to the apartment or whatever. They're
I think it's
glad
an
they take a
essential
ride.
service.
I do. I think, but I come from transportation. Well, actually, I come from medical, I'm a medical background. I don't know how I got into transportation, but here I am. So I think it is. I think that more people are out there that do not have reliable transportation. They can have transportation, but in the middle of the winter, I don't want to get out and start my car if it will start for me, when I can call somebody and say, you know what, I need a ride to the grocery store, I need a ride to the pharmacy, or something like that, that I cannot get to otherwise. It'd be just. Well, I just remember when I took this job, I'm just like, well, what's the big deal? Just get in the car and drive. I have 3 vehicles at my house. You know, it was humbling for me, because I just took for granted everybody could get wherever they want, you know, whenever they want, but they can't. We have elderly that don't drive. I mean, how many elderly residents does Blackduck have? I don't know what those statistics are, but the demographics on that, how many are disabled? How many are veterans that don't drive? How many are, you know, have children, but yet they don't have a vehicle, and so if they miss the school bus and they live 4 miles out, I mean, how do they get to school? So do I think it's essential? Absolutely. Do I think it's doable for Blackduck? Yes, but it would need a lot of things. And that's what I'm here for. That's my job, is to help you guys plan and decipher through all of those steps. You're awful quiet there.
What's first step? This is our first step.
This is our first step.
Next step.
Next step. I think we wait and we do a survey.
I'd like to see a survey to see when the need would be in our area.
Mhm.
And then the third step is, how does it get paid for? Because we have annual meetings with the public about our tax assessments, and if we have to come up with city funds, that's gonna be a tough sell.
But does it have to be city funds?
That's very good.
Can it be businesses? Can it be the businesses in your area that chip in on this? It doesn't have to be the city that does it. Grocery store, you have banks, you have.
For those persons like you said that wanna go to the liquor store, we have an excellent municipal liquor store.
Exactly,
They
and
can shop
people
here.
use Conifer Transit to go to liquor store. You know, it's a
Right over there.
basic essential
Go to
of
the
life
Mitch.
for some
We have
people.
excellent prices.
And you get a free ride to go buy a 12-pack of beer.
And they do that. And there's a couple stories. This one guy, I asked Nick, our driver, I said, so you take somebody to Burger King every morning at 7 o'clock? He goes, yeah, I take them to work. They've been walking every single day to work in the morning. Now I give them a ride and I pick them up at 1 o'clock. There's another one, 65-year-old grandmother that got custody of her 3 grandchildren. She has no vehicle. And she said, Conifer Transit has changed my life. It has changed how myself and my grandchildren live. So, but I think it's such a helps. Any other questions, comments? I will let you know when NATO will be here. The surveys will go out prior to them coming. So I'm guessing they'll be here late June. And I'm hoping to have the surveys out by the end of May,
Oh.
end of June.
How are the surveys gonna get circulated to the public?
They'll help me do that.
Okay.
They will help me do that. I might need a database. I don't know how to do. We secured funding for them to help us do all of that. So some of it's still in flux.
On all that, on the survey, you know, is there a way to pull businesses at the same time,
I don't see why.
you know, to see how everybody feels about it?
Sure.
Because I mean, as put on a different hat and be president of the chamber for a minute. You know, it's one thing to. How do we reach out to those two businesses? I mean, obviously, we can do that, but the chamber can do that.
And I think that each area, like. Park Rapids is gonna have different. Needs on their survey than what Blackduck does. I don't think all the surveys are gonna be the same straight across the board. So we could, you know. Personalize it to Blackduck and then make it include the businesses. If that's what you guys prefer.
I think it should.
Yeah.
And then when we grab all of that information, we're deciphering through the data, we can just leave those extra questions out of the data. Or, you know, our overall data.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, who should be my point person? Oh, Christine, okay.
And went up so quickly with such
No.
excitement.
Oh, it's like, yeah, it'll be me.
She's
Don't
much
you
better.
have-
Downer.
I'll-
The one with all the negative questions, how we pay
No,
for it.
I think they're negative questions. I think that you have valid points.
Yeah. I mean, I have to think of what the city's thinking of spending your taxpayer dollars with, and essential services is the first thing that comes to mind is. I see fire protection as an essential service, and one of the notes that you had said is. You don't know if you're gonna use it if you don't have it. Well, you don't know if you need a fireman to come and put your fire out until you need it.
Exactly.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's negative. I think that you are asking questions that are important. So, thank you for your time. You guys have anything, you have my card and you bet. Have a
Okay.
nice evening.
Thanks for coming. Thanks, guys.
Yep, you got it.
Thank you.
Business. The report. In progress. We're gonna get rid of this new year. This week or next week.
Next week.
We'll let it get through, For grilling.
Next week, please. I can reach, once, if you guys preliminaries, please send me some financial requests, I should be able to start working on some of it, but I think next week I'll take a look at it.
Library.
So, our contractor finally came up with, projected estimated cost to do phased in renovations to the library. Tony is anticipating labor and materials estimate with all of his subs to be about $58,000. He's listed, the description of work in his estimate. If you might remember in the fall when we discussed doing a phased version, this would include, taking out the walls of the existing office. Taking the south restroom and converting it into a private meeting space. Renovating the north restroom into a family restroom. They'll be relocating the entry door to the, I guess it would be the east wall. And then that gives them room to relocate the reception area. Trying to reuse whatever, existing furniture, if you will, or cabinetry that we already have. And then, relocating electrical, lighting, and then redoing, painting. You know, it all obviously includes all the demo flooring, and did I miss something? I feel like I missed something. Flooring installed, any moldings were needed. Yeah, I thought I finally nailed him down. I was quite busy over the winter, plus he took some time off for deer season, and that made it even harder to get a hold of him. But on a time frame, he sees once they get going about a 6-week completion time. He understands that they have to work around the library being open. So cleanup and working around that is going to be necessary. Tony and I discussed Mondays, you guys aren't open, right, Kelly? That they'd be able to get in there on Mondays when the library isn't yet open to the public, so that will actually give them a considerable more time without having to move around people. I don't have an anticipated date of starting because I wanted to talk with the council, make sure they were good with the estimate, and then this would have to get provided to Kitschy's board for approval for sure. Now that we have an estimate in hand so that we can utilize the funding that's made for these capital improvements. But it should, you know, minus a few extra dollars should cover a lot of it. And then if that is the case, any additional phases we do after that, the sales tax revenue that we're gonna get coming in, we can keep on going. So I think this is a good starting point. Do you guys have any questions about the estimate?
Yes.
Okay.
It's,
I'll try to answer them. I may not have them in detail.
well, I don't think you have that, but we can clarify. He's very thorough in the estimate with the listing of sentences and everything, including reusing the existing doors.
Yep.
And there's two big ticket items, the same category shown on the proposed plan, which are not referenced at all in the estimate. I would assume they're not included. I can't believe you leave them out. And there's two large windows shown in the office that was formerly the restroom. It's an outside window. It's got to be 4 to 5 feet wide. Large glass window in the interior wall separating it from the reception area. So I can't believe cutting in a new window of that size on the outside and inside is included in the 58,000.
Can you? I have no idea what window you're talking about.
Yep.
Is
In the
that on
office,
this-
there's two windows shown. That's the symbol, the architectural plan symbol for window with a solid black line that's narrowed from the wall.
You talking this window on the south wall?
No. That's the existing floor plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the?
I'm talking about the floor plan that he's proposing.
Okay. This is just an option. This is not the total thing. This is the one that came from Wood Saffron. This isn't revised.
Oh,
You might remember when we all discussed at a work session, we took this as an option. And Mike got up there with pencil and paper and a marker and started moving some stuff around, and we did a modification of this. So this is just as a reference, we used this
okay.
and our discussion to modify some things on here.
So he's not bidding out for this plan.
No, not this no, not this existing.
That was
one.
unclear.
Yeah, yep,
This is like a recipe. It's sort of a suggestion.
Yep.
That you use a half teaspoon of garlic, but if you really like
The
garlic.
way this was presented with card, proposed, and estimate, I just assumed this was
Gotcha.
based on the estimates.
I was gonna mention in part of my discussion tonight that this was a recipe. Thank you, Max. That we took this as a stepping stone and provided.
So he's describing what he's gonna do,
Correct.
regardless of any plan.
Well. Not regardless.
Well, in the interest of going forward, then that's good, but I just make sure that, you know, Kitchigami understands that we're not, 58,000 is not the concept.
Yeah, I'm not giving Kitschy either of these.
Okay.
I'm giving Kitschy
Yep.
them.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That would be misunderstood.
so when we met with Tony in October, we brought these existing and proposed plans of Woodside. We modified the, I guess I could say, option A with what we line drawn at the work session for Tony to go off of.
Yeah, it's basically what Mike went over that night. It's the exact same.
It's the exact same thing. I just don't have an actual architectural floor plan all pretty up like this to give you guys from that conversation.
You did screenshot his.
Wow.
Cause it's kind of nice to see what you're actually gonna build when you're done, but you know, I see where Ron's coming from.
Yep.
You know, usually when you start a job, you have kind of blueprint to what you're gonna be building. For a final product, you know,
And another contractor,
that's not,
and ask for all that if you'd like.
well, that's not what I'm asking.
Okay.
Say, so I see where he's coming from, where you have option A and you have the.
Sure,
original,
maybe I should have just left this out of your packet,
Yeah. It's,
so there was no
but
confusion.
your solution is you're not resubmitting these to Kitchigami, you're just giving them only his text, so there would be no. My misunderstanding.
I should have just left it out.
Yep.
Thought it would, gave you guys too much information, basically.
Well, no, I would love to see this one first though, because I mean, I'm all for outside. light
Yeah,
coming in.
and again, this is a phased, when we had Kelly here
Yeah,
and Miriam here, we all were discussing the needs, and we would like to see a phased transition of this so that we are not throwing $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 into the building all at once, knowing what our funding was.
and so that we're not undoing part of a project that we just did. Yeah. And just for clarification, the library board has. Their.
I literally got this on Friday.
I only mentioned it to Miriam, but they're 100% on board.
Okay.
Thank you,
They just
Kelly.
want to move forward with
That's-
something.
Thank you.
Well,
Appreciate the communication.
This is gonna be phased in, so we should be prepared that there's gonna be additional charges beyond the 58, because
Once we
whenever,
keep going, yeah,
even during this, once these projects happen, the end users always don't visualize something that the project makes happen, and now there's a change order, another change order. So
so
I
we
would be
had,
prepared for more than.
yeah, we
58.
had a good conversation with Tony about that. We explained to him how the city started, how Woodset's developed these. And I showed Tony all four options for beginning to the big plan with the bump, but with the addition, Ron.
Mhm.
And, you know, he is well versed with the fact that we are working inside a budget and needs that we and the library board have identified. And some of the plans that came out in the facility plan, feasibility plan, were much grander than what the city needed. So he understands that his progress in this is a stepping stone. And not only do we have to operate at the same time when he's doing this, but we also are looking forward as to what the next step is afterwards. We talked about flooring and how that transition is going to happen after this portion is done. We talked about molding, door location, bookshelves, everything as it progresses throughout the building.
But your point is, to the Kitchigami, you should anticipate having a contingency of 10% or 20%,
Yes.
whatever the number is.
I requested that from Tony and asked him if there was a contingency. He was very adamant that his percentages that were coming from the subs are included in this projected estimate.
In the charity built thing.
Correct.
Because I can guarantee you, you're gonna notice something that you want changed. I've never seen a project without.
Yeah, the only thing you can be guaranteed in construction is there's going to be a change.
Right.
That's the only
right.
guarantee.
There's
Yeah.
gonna be visualized, oh, I didn't realize this wall is here, therefore we need this light switch over here, because otherwise.
I think in saying that, valid point, that, the local library board, although Miriam knows, is they have a little slushy fund that they're well aware that they want to put towards some of this. And I think they're already thinking that that might be the case, but we will be starting to collect sales tax in Q2 of this year, so hopefully we won't go over that just for this one. And honestly, even speaking with Tony last October, this is probably the biggest portion of the building I think we're changing. It's got most of the plumbing.
And the flooring.
And the
a lot of
flooring.
flooring.
So
Only replacing flooring or the new stuff. So
Are we doing the whole?
we're doing the whole floor.
And yeah, and we're going with a certain kind of flooring so that when we do more renovations, it's
We can
easily
keep going with the
replaced.
same flooring. We talked in detail about different types of services that we needed to cover and why. And I'm pretty sure, and this is why I like doing things sooner than later, that the conversation we had with Tony was that like the entryway flooring that is existing now would change also,
Mhm.
because it's in dire need of being replaced anyway. And some type of transition into the actual library itself was needed to be different, because there's carpet in that existing office that will come out once the walls are demoed. The tile that's in the one family restaurant, or
All, both family, because they're bad.
they're both bad, those are gonna change too. And those are all the tile,
Yeah, basically the whole front half.
has to change. It gets the most traffic in the most
Yeah.
square.
so this price could go up depending on.
I mean, there was a line in there about materials, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
But does this price include what you're just saying,
it does. It includes the materials,
or we're replacing the floor?
correct? If you guys want to see something more in detail, please let me know, because nailing Tony down it's been a weekly process for me since before Christmas. Trying to get an actual documented estimate. And I need to know if you want something more to approve at your next council meeting.
Well, I'd like to get Kichigami's approval, obviously.
Oh, yeah,
Let's,
I'm pretty sure that's in the bag.
I think that's in the bag. Melissa's already been sent this
this
to,
is a general contractor, so the quicker we could get him to go, keep him going, the better.
the better, yeah. And we'd like to get them on the
The earlier.
time frame
Yeah.
as soon as
We're on this,
possible.
yeah.
So we know when we're gonna start, because we could start demo anytime.
We know there's gonna be more phases, so let's start with phase one.
Yeah. So that being said, I'll put the estimate on the council agenda for final approval. It'll simultaneously go to Kitchi for their approval as well, because they have a March meeting too, do they not? 17th,
Yeah, it's usually the second.
so I think that's like the 17th. That way, as long as Tony knows he's got the go, okay, he can start lining up his subs.
And Dawn, you'll be attending that one?
Yeah, whenever there's a meeting, yeah.
Okay.
I gave Melissa, like I said, she'll be sending you the notifications.
Hey,
What a
Thanks,
great,
Kelly.
what a great segue.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Speaking of Tony. How about that duck?
I still don't have anything to talk to you guys about. So, I'm ready to go off of, go on a different path. I talked to Jim Nissen Friday about doing the painting. He's not interested in doing any of that. I would like to start finding somebody that is willing to do something with getting the statue off the good space. And I'm gonna have to start hard looking at somebody that can maybe restore the statue. I'll have to either try the school art teacher or somebody else, because I don't know if we're gonna get anybody. That's a contractor that's gonna know how to do this. I mean,
Hey, Mike, you like lifting ducks?
I had a feeling that's where it was going.
I mean, we need, I don't know if the logging truck can do it,
Well, I'm sure that one of the booms, any of them would lift it.
you know, and.
The question is,
Who and how, I don't know. But I mean, I see, in my mind, I see recreating the base of the statue. Not too difficult, welding a box together, maybe, I don't know, I can talk to the school, but it's getting that statue off of its base. And replacing the base, and then rebuilding it is gonna be the biggest feat.
and, yeah, cause there's gonna be some dirt work around it. To raise it up.
I think we need to see what's base is exactly what's underneath that,
Why wouldn't
you know, what that,
concrete?
cause the duck has to be going down some rods or something down the footings into the ground to hold it there. So that base is probably just rock glued on some plywood.
And
For the
where it
wall.
sits, like I said, it
It's
sits in
big.
that, it sits in that
Yeah.
divot. And wet years. Man, it freezes up hard.
I mean,
Yeah.
there may be a possibility where we may have to put a new foundation for the base too.
I mean, if
Or some more concrete or something.
the duck isn't tipping or anything, I don't think the base is, the concrete's probably not a problem. You know, it's probably just. You know, they made a frame or a wood thing and glued some fake rock on it. And capped over with fiberglass, that's all it has. Yeah, that's all it looks like to me when I looked at it. So to build a frame around it, it's probably not that big a deal.
Yeah, I would think that would be the easy part. I think the hardest part is getting it off so that we can do that.
And did you say that?
Probably don't have to take, you probably don't have to take the duck off to do it. That's bolted down straight through, probably bolted down right through the center of it. You know,
Oh, I follow you, Don. You're thinking that the base itself does not, the statue doesn't have to come off the base.
Yeah,
That we
it's
can
not
just take the
heaved,
base
yeah.
and
He's saying it's
I
not
follow you
heaving.
now.
you
Sorry,
know, that's on a pedestal
sure.
that holds the duck up in the center, that square box around it, just protecting it. You know, the wings and, you
Mhm.
know, so that's just a frame. You know, probably a wood frame around it. So I don't think the duck actually has to come off there unless you wanna take it off and restore it.
I would think it could get restored where it is.
Yeah, you.
As long as you've got good weather, like Nick and Cheryl did fine, as long as they've had
You know,
good weather.
Scaffolding up around it or whatever to paint it or whatever you want them to do, I mean. There's not scaffolding around the neighborhood. You know,
That we don't have a ladder truck for the fire department, huh?
well,
We do have.
No, I know what
we
you're
have
calling.
that.
I think between the community we can, that's why, Paige suggested I talked to Jim Nissen. He actually came in on Friday to get some tabs. So I'm like, okay, here we go. He's like, I've never done any surface like that. He goes, I would do anything for Blackduck, but he's not interested in touching it.
Who is this again?
You better,
Jim Nissen,
Okay.
he used to
Explain
be
it.
the. Physics, science teacher at the school,
Okay.
he's also. a Big artist,
Oh, artist.
very good,
you know,
talented.
once the snow is gone, it kind of dries up around there, if we go you know. Kind of
Yeah.
like dissect that frame around it,
Mhm.
you know, that way we know what it is exactly, instead of spending. Hundreds of dollars having somebody go over there and tear it apart and look at it, and then. You know, we could just dissect a little bit of a corner of it, we could see what it is, there's no way we know.
Sure. Well, and Jim Nissen even
I
suggested,
see you two staring at.
Jim Nissen
I
even
mean-
suggested talking, see how I'm not looking at you?
I'll go
Jim Nissen
dissect it and look at it. you know?
Actually suggested, maybe talking with Danny Savage. Or somebody else that does like Northern Rides that does work on fiberglass, that type of thing, that might be interested in. Painting or resurfacing the statue.
So are we talking a separate person for the statue and a separate person for the construction of the base?
I would
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
say
Yeah,
yes.
the base.
And did I hear you say that our friend Mr. Gustafson is not interested in any part of that? Is that right?
That what, you did not hear me say any of that. What
Okay.
I did say was that I'm not going down that path. I don't think he's the person that we go for.
Okay, for the
Yeah.
base, okay.
We'd be able to tell what the base is by the meter drill, but.
I mean, we go just,
Drill through it and see if it's hollow or what.
Well, there has to be, oh,
We
because
go
they have
down there and
pictures
we-
of water standing in there.
we can go down there and
They said
dissect
that'd
that
be
a
the
little
road.
bit, and we can figure out exactly what it is. It's not that big a
We
deal.
have pictures from that company.
Why don't you just let me take the demo saw and cut a hole in this?
Well, that's what I was thinking.
See
Oh,
what it
didn't
is.
you cut those ones to the
It's
water?
the
to
easiest,
drainage
yeah, it's
anyway?
just, that's just a small bit that I stuck in there, cause I didn't know what anyone wanted to do, but. From what I'm hearing. Just let me loose with the demo saw. I'll open a side up, we can go and crawl in there and see what's going on.
Yes.
I mean, we could figure it out, like you said, most likely. There's probably a concrete pedestal inside of that big square box, essentially, right? The footing that comes down through the duct. They had to have put rebar in there and then started the plaster from there somehow, right? So let's open it up, let's see. You know, furthermore, depending on what everybody wants to do with the duct. We can slap some plaster mix into the cracks that are there and everything, find somebody to paint it. It all depends on what you guys wanna do, but it doesn't need to be very difficult.
Let's not make it. You know,
Like, what was our estimate from the restoration company? Like,
With mobilization for a crane, like $54,000.
yeah, like 60 grand.
Turn me loose with like $1,500.
Yeah, let's just go down there and. I'll go down there with Mike and I'll climb in there and figure it out. It's not that big a deal.
Oh,
Then I'll work with Jim Nissen's suggestions and talk to like Danny or Northern Rides and see
Well,
if
let's-
any of those guys wanna tackle the painting.
We might, we
Maybe
might have,
the
we might
duck.
have to, let's
Yeah, right.
figure it out what it is
Not the
first
base.
and then we'll go from there.
I'm totally fine with that and I appreciate the input.
I would say that your main thing is find somebody to paint it.
That-
I mean, I can go down there and slap black on it, but somebody should come and do, you know,
there's.
the artistic
the
portions
fading
of
and
things,
the-
yeah.
And the nice.
I mean, I can put, like I said, I can put a black base coat on it easily enough,
Please don't.
but somebody can do the rest, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I can open up a 2x2 hole on the east side of it or the south side or some side, whatever. That we think works best, open it up, see what it is. Go from there.
Yeah.
I mean, we can figure out a way to close it up. You know, so that you can't hardly tell that we did anything. As long as we make straight cuts.
Yeah, keep in mind, this company that did that estimate is a high-end restoration company of artistic. Antique masterpieces of statues and city squares from 100 years ago. Yeah, that's, if you're doing a brass statue of, you know.
I'm just an old farm boy you call when you want shit done.
Yeah.
So that's.
This is a fiberglass. This is a fiberglass duct from 1980 something. Good. Cranes.
We'll figure out bottom and then. Yeah.
Let's go from there. I like the plan. I see where we're going.
You know. We dilly-dallied on this way too long.
Couldn't happen with the duck.
Well, no, I mean, that's about anything.
If we're done with that, we'll go on to the city hall.
I just provided to you guys some updates. The State Historic Preservation Office cleared City Hall, which I figured probably would. I got this email last week. So that portion of the environmental, survey that had to be presented to USDA is checked. So as long as, USDA is getting funding and staff, maybe Q2, we might hear something. We'll see,
We'll see. Okay,
as long as everybody at the feds replied to Elon's email, maybe we'll get some funding.
We'll get something.
I don't know.
Well. Then. Since we are still on a kind of a holding pattern until they either approve or
Yeah,
nothing else we can do with
I'm
that.
not going out for bids for something we don't have funds for.
Exactly. So. Our annual compliance packet.
Okay, so I included this in your consent agenda on the February 10th meeting. Submitted all my documentation to PFA. The reply back was basically, you didn't fulfill the requirement. And
That's what I saw.
you still need to do $1,865.83. So I did not do the planned depreciation for the water fund into the water sinking fund for 24. Based upon the revenues that were projected for 24 didn't come in. And subsequently, despite the operating, expenditures being very close to budget, we had a net deficit of $45,000 when we ended 2024. So that's without any depreciation. The $8,600 that did go into the water sinking fund was all interest in 2024.
Okay.
But based upon PFA's calculation, we needed to depreciate, where's my paper, sorry. 10,000 something.
But
Yeah, 10,531. So I need to transfer an additional 1865.83 into the water sinking fund. It does not have to come from the water fund. And I don't recommend that it does because we started off with a deficit in 25. Plus we paid our bond payment in February. So we have some catch up to do after Q1 of this year. But I need to get the city into compliance by March 1. I have a week to do this. And I would like permission to transfer $1,865.83 out of the general fund reserve fund to the water sinking fund to remain in compliance with PFA.
And give me that acronym again slower.
Public Facilities Authority, PFA, is the funding mechanism for the sewer improvement section of the 2016 Summit and Main reconstruction project.
well, we can't do it.
Yeah. The state says.
Yeah, the
custodian
state
of
says-
records and-
I tried it with it not showing up in total,
And
and I haven't done that before, and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna do it and see what he says, and he said, no. You have till March 1 to make this good.
And it's
Like,
now-
okay, I'll talk to everybody on
It's
Monday
February
night.
24th, so let's do it immediately and
Well, yeah,
not risk the ire.
you don't need
Controller
an
of the
official
funds.
motion on this, we can't.
Well, we can't bring a work session, so.
you can't. I'm recommending that you do it, and I'm gonna give you guys it in the fund transfer, the funds transfer in the fund balance
Yeah,
report next Monday,
Okay,
Yeah.
and on the 10th.
then yes, Christina.
Yeah, okay. And moving forward,
So,
hopefully we won't have this issue again, because I don't wanna take it from another fund to fund
Mhm.
the other one.
no,
We do that already to cover deficits like for, golf and.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to keep doing that.
Item F, Public Works Equipment.
I don't know where I put it, but. I must have put it in your packet. Mine must be on my desk. So Mike did come up with a full quote for that hammer he asked for 2 meetings ago. He and I have not met about it yet, so I don't know if you guys just wanted to see what the attachment price was and consider it, or if you want to hold off until Mike and I have an opportunity to discuss how to fit it into his budget. But I'm still a little gun shy about starting the year off in the deficit, so I'm still gun shy about chopping out his budget right now, this soon in the year. My position only.
Well, I think we should have an idea how to pay for it. Right, check. Is there any way this could be considered helpful with the duck project? We can justify.
I can use it on.
We can justify it. You can
Not a
have reason. We need this for the duck. Hammer it. Hammer it
I
open.
don't think
cut it.
you're going to be able to comply with the people that donate the money
Counselor?
with that. I think that is a misuse of funds.
We're treading on some ice there.
Yeah, making me very uncomfortable. We can always get creative. Yes, I get that, but we should always have to answer for it too.
I don't know, I think this time, no, it'd be great, but if we're already that far in the red.
That'd be all we need for.
We still have a couple more months of spring. So having the attachment, if something else were to happen,
You know, right now,
it'll be useful. But
winter is closing, right, coming to an end.
Yeah,
A lot of this hammer's main thing is our frost and our breaks, right? We all know that. We're getting to the point where we're getting close, you know, something could still happen. Oh, well, you know, we'll figure it out. Really, when we talked about this thing, it was more or less like, hey, here's an attachment that would benefit us. It might sit in the corner, you know, for quite a while, but when it's needed, it's needed. That said, I really don't need it for much in the summertime. So there's plenty of time here.
has there been
No rush for me.
a winter,
What's that?
maybe last winter,
that we didn't need to
that
break
we
up the
didn't
streets.
need to break up a street?
I would say no, because we ended up,
Every winter. since
Every
I've
winters
been
we've done
here,
something,
I've been in
whether-
the Street at some point.
yeah, and it may not have necessarily have been an asphalt road.
Correct,
So, yeah,
that's why.
I don't think we've ever gone a winter without something.
No,
Third Street last year,
Not since I've been here. It's
Yeah.
Every year.
it's every year.
We've been in the ground for something in the
Just
winter.
keep in mind,
But,
our
yeah.
water is 4-inch cast iron.
Not everywhere.
Not everywhere.
All depends where you are in town.
Mhm.
Okay. No, I mean, it's, the odds that something are gonna happen are pretty high.
Oh, the odds are very high.
Do I think it's a good idea? I think it is a good idea. I just don't think it's a great idea right now.
Yep, absolutely, and I'm totally good with that, I have no problem with that. It was just, you know, to be brought to you guys,
Yes,
that, hey, this is something that we should really look at doing, and, you know, we've got months to figure it out. I would like to have it figured out, hopefully by, you know, the start of next
Next
winter.
winter.
So when we get into that, you know, I'd like to have it figured out by honestly, the end of October. Yep,
We would have a better idea of how your budget sits too by
Right.
then for the year.
yep.
Definitely see a need for it, though. I mean, if you can cut a day or a day and a half or even more off your fixed time, that helps everybody in town.
Well, I've still got,
not having a burning
Just-
not having a burning fire in the middle of the street is also kind of nice.
well, I've got a nice scar on the back of my calf that I'll have for the rest of my life from burning fires on the street here, so.
Stand so close.
one less thing. And yeah, I mean, we've done many fires on the street. I'm sure you guys have seen it.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
Put them out there and babysit them and burn for a day, 2 days until we can get through the frost and dig.
And in the meantime, somebody's without water.
Yep.
Really, we're warming up now.
Yeah.
If we get cold weather and warm up, that's when the freezes happen, right?
That's generally when a lot of the breaks happen.
That's
is
what
when
I was
your-
thinking
When
too.
your temps start to warm and then go cold,
That's when.
just like earlier this year, you know, when it was cold and then all of a sudden it got warm and everything melted and then it got really cold again with no snow blanket on the ground and here we go.
And that's kind of where we're heading.
Yeah, we're coming into it. It'll be, and the frost right now is as deep as the frost is gonna be,
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, it's. See what happens.
Yeah, and there's some cities across the state that are really having some problems. But the one that just Detroit Lakes just happened at the end of last week.
I know LaPorte just froze their water tower.
No.
I heard that and somebody else froze theirs too. Don't remember who.
Yeah. it's a bummer.
And I'm sure everybody saw what went on in Detroit.
In Detroit,
Yeah.
Detroit Lakes just, oh.
That was wild. Not Detroit Lake, Detroit.
Yeah, that shit.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
God.
No, it's actually.
Detroit. and I
Remember the
love
ones
lakes.
that are frozen, like in 3 feet?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
like
what I
up
was
to the
thinking.
windows.
Well, that was a 52 inch, I believe, water main that broke.
Oh, my lord.
Yeah, that's
That's big.
a lot of water.
That's a lot of
That's
water.
lot of water. And with a city that size, you know, they've got numerous tanks. I mean, you know, we're holding 150,000 gallons at the most here. They're holding 50 million gallons of water probably between their tanks. And again, with a loop system, they
No way to
probably,
stop that.
I don't know if the whole city went under, but I mean, with the water that I saw and how many blocks it went for, yeah, they put out a lot of water. Our little overflow the other day was absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
compared with the- yeah. We lost, I figure, probably maybe 15,000 gallons.
Yeah.
Really not that much, really not. I mean, we did some hydrants around town the other day and
Mhm.
just doing those, it's hard because, you know, we did those during the day, school was in, so you've got demand. But I figured just on the 6 or 7 outliers that we did, we burnt probably 60,000 gallons of water for that.
And
But we were taking advantage of the warm weather. The fact that the tower had turned itself completely over and was full of good clean water, so out it went. This time of year, we don't keep the water tower full. We keep it half or less so that we're turning water. We don't have a mixer inside our water tower. We don't want it to freeze. Water tower was completely full. Warm out, well, let's take advantage of it. We didn't get water out of here. Hit some hydrants around town, move some water around. Seems to have helped, I think, you know, go down to a few spots and.
according to LaPorte, they had a low flow situation and done.
Yeah, low flow as in the people in the community weren't
Not
using
using
enough
anything.
water.
Yep,
Their tower was too high, stagnant, froze. Yep. Yep, that's why we run half or less in the winter time, because that way we ensure that our water plant runs at least once a day. So we're cycling that water, because, you know, your groundwater, what is it, 40 some degrees, whatever it is, you know, it's warmer coming out of the ground than the water sitting up in that metal, right? When it's 30 below outside. So you cycle it and you keep the warmer water coming in.
So it's kind of science.
Somewhat, hillbilly logic.
I like yours better.
So yeah, as far as going back to the hammer, we can visit it, you know, let's take a look at it in August or something. You know, it was just something to get out there.
Yep.
So you guys know the price, know what it is, what we want to use it for and all that.
well, I can't imagine the price is gonna change from Ziegler much.
Should be the same.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Oh,
Ready for my new business?
oh, I am very ready for new
Okay.
business.
So, I had a nice long conversation with the planning commission about our citywide cleanup program, last Wednesday. Trying to, start looking into, you know, this, we usually do this in May. We've done it for the last 6 years. Want to bring it back, obviously. If we want to make a hybrid, change it. Do we want to keep it? Do we want to stop it? All this kind of feedback, trying to get from that board. The people involved from last year had a lot of input, so I provided to you guys the minutes. A couple of people that helped last year that's on the board all had input for it, plus Max was there. Don, you helped, right, last year? So we know that there's a need. Despite my objections to it, I don't think we should stop it, but I have I would like to push for maybe changing what it looks like a little bit and how to control it, so we don't turn into the fiasco we had last year. So in doing so, I brought to the planning commission a few samples of what some other cities have done. I've spoken to Peg from John's Refuse and talked to her if they've ever been involved in a citywide cleanup. She said no, but there's a lot of cities that want to do it that's in their service area. She's actually going to a county meeting with county waste management this week. And she's going to bring it up, give me some feedback about what maybe if we've got some partnership with the county. She sees some value in it, but in order to really kind of control what gets out there, and to minimize costs, she still thinks the best way for a city to do it is to still do curbside pickup. I wanted to kind of move completely into renting 2 or 3 roll-offs, putting them on a city piece of property and doing it on a weekday where people had to bring us their items and we charge them for the items that Waste Management was going to charge us. Now I'm still waiting. I spoke with their office at the county and they were going to send me the details of what gets charged. There's a little bit more detailed list, Max, than what you brought me last year. I haven't received it. I'm gonna have to follow up with her tomorrow and find out where that email ended up, but you know, conversation from the planning commission was get 3 roll-offs, 1 for e-waste, 1 for construction materials, 1 for maybe tires or whichever, and because e-waste is gonna cost us, I think it's $10 a unit when you bring it in. Tires are gonna cost us. And I can't really find a reference point of what you guys spent last year, but I think last year was the highest paying year. $400, $400 or something. The biggest obligation and obstacle you guys had was the county at the Blackduck transfer station was prepared to take how much you guys had, and you had to bring it down to Bemidji, and that was just a volunteer fail, right? So that's why I was thinking about, do we rent the roll-offs and pay for the removal? What
And you
does the
see it-
city want to contribute to this if they do to have it done?
And last year, that was even after I'd had a conversation now with them out there that, hey, we're gonna be doing our citywide cleanup. And all of a sudden, there's still not enough room
No,
because there was no extra preparation on their end.
They were full before,
you guys got there?
yeah, they were
Yeah.
full, yeah.
Well, and okay, so that was one of my thoughts about if we rented the roll-offs ourselves as a city, only provided to the people that brought stuff to it. Maybe it's staffed so that if somebody needs to get rid of e-waste, you give me the $10 right now. That was my thought, but we would have to do it on a weekday. It would require city staff. The other conversation was if we left it at curbside, we do it on a weekday. People still have to sign up and we use city staff again and do the truck and the skid steer and pick that stuff up and then put it in the dumpsters we rent so that it's actually sorted correctly too. There are a bunch of variants we could do. All are going to come down to if the city wants to continue doing it, what kind of a cost commitment do we want to put into it? Because it could get big, it could be small. I don't know after last year what the expectation can be.
So it should be, this is my view on this. It should be for people that don't have a truck sitting in their driveway.
That's how it was started, Don.
And it should be for people that can't bring stuff to the transfer station
Themselves,
themselves.
yeah.
It shouldn't be for people that sit and store all this stuff up in their yard or in their shed and then put it all out there. And they're perfectly able to bring it there themselves.
The problem with that is if the city's gonna host it and get the bill for it, if you do for one, you gotta do for all. I don't know how to differentiate that unless we're doing a senior cleanup day, you know? Oh, doesn't United Way help do yard cleanup, Bemidji, and it's hosted and it's funded by
That's-
United Way?
Interesting.
I don't know. How do you spin this? Yeah, we have a very large amount of seniors in town, but Tammy was just here saying we probably have a bunch of people that can't drive either, and they're probably not seniors. I don't know.
But
I was there, Don, I know.
so you seen who took advantage of the
I-
situation
Yes,
and
We all know that.
and then.
We gotta look past it.
There was a lot of miscommunication last year of what we would take and what we wouldn't take.
Yeah,
Yep.
And then we had a lot of upset people because we wouldn't take some of the stuff.
we had 2 or 3.
Well,
That's not-
it's still a lot. I mean, when you have 10 and a third of them complain. I mean, I loved what these other cities did. I mean, it was a good reference point to at least have a conversation about. But
Wasn't part of it too supposed to be, you know, to help keep
your
costs down? Or,
costs down, keep your public nuisance and your yards clean. That's where it all stemmed from. It's just kind of changed quite a bit.
but they still think that curbside is the way to go.
Well, that's what was recommended by PEG if the city wants to keep costs down. Because if we run the roll-offs, not only we have to pay for that, but we also have to pay for the tonnage and the county fees to have that removed. So it could be, $1,000 before we're
That's what I
done.
was gonna
the
say.
problem with the roll-off is people are gonna go just throw all the stuff.
That was my other point back to the planning
Yeah.
commission when
Just-
when the guys cleaned out the old maintenance building and the lumber yard and we had those down there so they could do it. We know other stuff got thrown in there that wasn't out of those
It
buildings.
was like a used furniture store there at one point.
Yeah.
I rest my case. That's why I keep saying, do we still wanna do this?
I didn't know we had that many, toys in the old LEC.
We got a lot of tires in the old LPC.
Yes, but, all right, so
We just have a lot of pack rats that we've replaced.
March,
We have a couple months to figure it out, but
I don't wanna take a couple months.
we should really bang this out in the next month so that I can promote it. If we are gonna go forward with it. And line crap up. And get partners.
And
And I'd love to get Mike's
strict,
input.
strict. If they answer the phone, we're telling them the right stuff.
So everybody's on the same page.
Well, that's why I was thinking about the roll-offs, Max, is because that way, instead of doing a curbside, the person has to bring it to us and put it in the bins. So we can turn them away at that point.
What is the roll off? 250 to 500,
Um,
depending on your
TKs are like
500.
construction debris. Oh, well, this is just what the materials cost from the county.
You're gonna have to lock it up though, because if you're talking about a staff roll off, the minute the staff is gone.
I know, that's the other,
People are coming there.
that's
with
the other flip side to
toxic,
this.
bad Oil, odors, asbestos.
I don't know what the answer is, you guys. I told somebody else I just wanted to not do it anymore, and they told me that that was the wrong path to go on.
Yeah, right, coach last year.
I did it years ago
Anita,
in Twin Valley.
into the valley.
And their setup over there worked pretty well. We had, and actually it ended up, we had a roll off. That ended up being a permanent fixture by one of our city buildings, an outlier. That roll off was actually provided by, a local scrapper.
Ooh,
Basically, here's the roll off. You want rid of it, throw your stuff in there. When it got full, he'd come get it. That's it. No, no money, no nothing. It was good for him because he got the money out of the deal, right? The metal scrap.
oh, sure, the
That's
metal
any,
scrap,
I mean,
yeah.
you're talking fridges, people were throwing computer stuff in there because scrappers will
They'll,
go through the computer to pull stuff out of there, right? So that was that was one thing that worked out really well for us over there. The other thing is actually the sanitation people over there. Fuchsias, Fuchs. Yep. They were out of Holly or something like that. But what they did for their cleanup is we did two different things. We had that dumpster for basically metals, computer kind of stuff. It got to be because he wanted it later on. We also had a trailer that we would set by one of our city buildings, and you could put computer monitors, TVs, all that junk on that trailer, and then we took that to the landfill ourselves. Basically, we got weighed in, weighed out, we got billed for that, the city did. The rest of the stuff, all your old couches and your paint and your this and your that, each resident put it out on the curb at their house. And there were very specific, things that they would take, and essentially the company sent, 5, 6, 7 trucks, whatever it was, up on whatever day it was, a Friday, a Saturday, whatever, with their drivers, their guys, and they did it.
John's actually suggested that they could do that.
Well, and that's,
Charge us,
that,
but yeah.
yes, we're going to get charged.
Yep,
But that takes out a lot of it, and then whatever can't go is left on the front yard of the people,
mhm.
and they need to take care of it. People need to have personal accountability and
One-
responsibility,
Yes,
plain and simple.
Yep.
Don't put it out there if they're not gonna take it, or if you do and they don't take it, well, you gotta get rid of it, figure it out.
And-
I mean, there's, what, 2 or 3 young guys out of Blackduck right now that I've seen on Facebook that are, hey, if you got crap you need to get
we'll
rid
move it
of,
out of here.
let us know.
Yep,
So I think that would kind of be, that would be a suggestion. I know I made it back then. I was really new then. That was in 2019. Was that the first year
sorry.
that you guys did it? And I had basically just started and it was kind of a thing, but I would really suggest looking at that because it takes a lot of the headache out, a lot of the what if. It's gonna cost, right? It's
Yeah.
gonna cost.
Peg and John said that, they would partner with the city and do some type of program like that and schedule those days to pick up around town. We're still gonna be charged the fees that we would have to for that day. I mean, TK Outdoors makes it very clear what the county charges and what they don't, what they'll allows in their dumpsters. E-waste is a big cost.
Mhm.
That's one of them. Appliances and tires are all a charge
because
now.
it's tedious to get rid of.
A lot of stuff has changed in the last 5 years
Yep.
of what is allowed and what is not. So we can't walk through this blind thinking we're gonna just eat the bill for everybody.
I-
Like you said, there's gotta be some accountability.
I would suggest, and with what I said, I would suggest that I believe they have it on their city website or their Facebook page. The city of Twin Valley has their stuff all laid out with what, the place will take, what they won't take. And again, if they don't take it and it's still in your yard, get rid of it. find somebody to come take it for you.
Like some of the tires I got last year had rims on them. Well, the transfer station doesn't take them with rims.
Right.
So we had to bring them up to,
I brought them all to MJ's.
we brought them up to MJ's,
Mhm.
dropped them off, and he broke them down for us.
Yep. Yeah, and that's stuff like that, where that's above and beyond of what you should have to do.
What you should have to do, yeah, that's my part. of it
And,
too.
You know, the other thing is, we've got,
You know, all the way back.
So MJ's got the rims,
MJ got everything.
yeah, got the tires. Well, that's good. They better.
Well,
Well,
That's great.
no,
No?
It doesn't
Those
matter,
tires got disposed of.
yeah. I mean,
Probably.
I wish people would just be better neighbors.
Well, I'm not, I'm
Each
hesitant
person
to
can
even
bring-
say this, but
each person can bring like 3 or 4 tires out to the transfer station for free,
Yes, they
Mhm.
can,
yep,
yes,
you know?
but they don't wanna do it themselves.
they don't wanna do it themselves.
That's the personal accountability, right?
or
Yes.
after it sat in my garage. For a couple of years, and then my wife is really upset. Those tires are still there, because I thought I had a good use for them.
If you got it in from your friends back then, see if they can send you something, 'cause
I-
it's not on their website anymore,
Okay, I
Yeah.
can find it.
unless it's just a seasonal.
It's just,
Time frame.
yeah, I think it's just seasonal. You probably have to look. They do it sometime in the summer, if I remember right.
I kinda like the. Seeing what John's. Whatever the charge is, having them go around and pick it up.
You know, and the other thing with the scrap metal portion of things. You know, we had a couple of roll-offs when we were doing the old LEC.
Mhm.
And I mean, it was dropped off one day and by the following morning, there was already like, who put all this stuff
Yeah.
in here? This wasn't from us,
And
you know? But what I would say though, and again, I'm hesitant to say it because I'm not offering this right now. But we have a scrap pile, right?
Yeah.
We've got a scrap pile. When I go to get rid of that scrap pile. However it works, you know, when we did the LEC, we basically just did a clean trade over there. Hey, bring me a couple of containers. One for metal, one for everything else. You can have the metal in trade for bringing me the containers, right? It didn't cost us to get rid of all that garbage that was in there.
I wouldn't say that,
Well, it didn't cost us as much as
as
it
much,
should have.
yeah, we did pay, but you're right,
Um,
we did some trade.
I've got, like you said, I've got a scrap pile. At some point that needs to go because it's been building for a lot more years than since I've been here. However, what I'm getting to is with the grapple, with the loader that we now have and a dump truck, there's a possibility that we could take that scrap and put it in our pot. Because we should come out on it at some point in time. Not offering it right now.
That's just the scrap.
That's just the
Yeah.
scrap metal.
How much scrap metal did you guys pick up last year? Quite a bit.
yeah, I have my truck and trailer. Oh,
Cause last year you guys took the city trailer too, didn't you?
yeah, that was for furniture.
Okay. Just for furniture.
And it
What kind
was
of furniture?
sofas,
Couches.
Chairs,
Mattresses.
mattresses.
Mostly wood?
dressers.
I, what I have.
There's a whole nother way to dispose of that. Burns.
I have a
This is-
bonfire.
This is what's on TK's website about what's not allowed in there.
Yeah.
And what is.
We had it all sorted pretty much.
Pretty much.
I had my truck with this in it and my trailer had this in it and same with you. Your truck and trailer.
And then
This is
John
allowed or
goes
not
with
allowed?
the city trailer.
Just the far
is
column,
on.
very right column says it's not allowed, the other
This
two
is-
are,
okay.
yeah. Because the right column is a charge.
I mean, like. Here where it says. Whose is this? Where in our packet, you know, trunk only $10, pickup load 25,
Oh, the one from Oakdale?
Yeah,
Yeah, I question that all this is right because computer monitors, microwaves, all that stuff is free. And to me, that's e-waste. For Beltrami County. I mean, granted, this is a different county, so
Yeah, you gotta pay for that now.
you gotta pay for that now. I need to follow up with the county and get that list. I don't know where that list came from, that I did not get that email on Friday.
and you know, and if they're. And again, if they can't get it from their home to the. Transfer station, how are they getting it from home? To our roll-off?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's why you guys are talking about it.
I know the prior years it was free. Free pickup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
But you know what, Nick, before last year, at best, we get charged like maybe $40, but that was also then when, he was, Wally was still around working on the north side, and now that Wally's gone, and the county's got somebody that's actually, unfortunately, complying with what the county needs to do.
He lightened up a little bit.
You know, and yeah, I heard it's lightened up a little bit, but you know, I mean, they've got a job to do as well. You know, they've got to pay for it at some point, and it all trickles down to us globally regardless,
As the
so.
taxpayer, you're either paying for it, get rid of it, or you're going to pay a higher
Tax.
solid waste. fee.
Right, right, and everybody knows that. But if we wanna be, you know, a community that offers a service to this,
A little proactive on it, yeah.
then yes, this is good. Everybody sees these as good community programs.
But it turned into, you know, 8 hours and how many volunteers? Later,
I can
Yeah.
talk with Johns again and see what kind of you know, program they wanna put together and what it
If
would
they've got-
cost for a couple of days of their service going around town, picking things up.
you know,
And obviously there would be an unknown as to what is,
yes, there would be.
what they're gonna have to charge us for what they pick up. But you guys gotta have an idea in your brain about what kind of money you wanna spend on this. Cause we will spend money on it if we continue. One way or the other. We just don't know where that max is.
I think, in my opinion, I mean, I drive around town a lot. I'm all over in this
I'll
town.
see you almost every morning.
Yep. If you're gonna do something like this, if you're gonna continue doing it, I would really tie it in, you know, hand in hand with the,
Citywide. Garage.
well, the amount of blight in town right now.
That's how it all started.
I mean, I've been here 6 years and I would say it's dirtier now than when I first started here. With the amount of junk in people's yards, whether it be vehicles, old buses, you know, dryers sitting in the front yard. There's stuff everywhere. I mean, there's a house that banks their house for winter with scrap metal. From what it looks like. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that. So what I'm saying is. I guess if we're gonna pay one time or something, you know. Maybe we can get it clean around here. Everybody saw the video, right, a couple of months ago of Blackduck back in, what year was that?
80 something.
89 or early 90s or whatever it was. I don't know if I was the only one or not, but the immediate takeaway I had from watching that was, boy, look how upkept everything seemed. Right? And we're all really used to it around here. I've only been here 6 years now and I'm already used to it.
Mhm.
But from seeing that video to seeing the way that a lot of town looks right now. Yeah, we're starting to look like one of the outlying towns that you don't drive through. You know what I mean?
But how many of them people are gonna use that service, and how many people are just gonna keep stacking up their yard?
Well, and that's the kicker of it is that, you know, maybe if we can get it so, hey, put it in your front yard We're gonna come around, we're gonna have a company come around, maybe we can get it clean. And then maybe, you know, the first year or two costs us a fair amount because of how much crap there is. And then it dwindles, right? And then it doesn't cost us as much.
One of the things we did, Nick, as the planning committee, is we did our blight tour. I sent out letters and I sent out the program saying, you got stuff, we'll come and get it. And for the most part, it worked for a percentage of those people that will get a letter from me. I will tell you, totally honest, the hardest part is following up and making sure the person did it. But 9 times out of 10, there's gonna be that 1 or 2 people that I'm gonna send a letter to every year and saying, do this, or I have to violate you. And they're gonna come in, shake the letter in my face and going, what about so-and-so right next to me? Or behind me, or whatever. And we all have them in our neighborhoods. And aside from, you know, me saying, be a good neighbor, screen it, get rid of it, whatever. I mean, their administrative fines. I could probably attach it to somebody's property taxes if I wanted to, if they never paid for it, that would be the extent of it. But that was the whole goal, was to get people to do exactly what Mike is saying, clean up your yard.
And I think it comes back down to. And then you have the folks that are gonna store it. For that year and then put it out. Cause they know the city's gonna.
Well, that's what happened last year.
And that's possible, you know,
I mean, if you're that person that doesn't have a truck and can't do it, okay,
but quite honestly, I mean, if you got a fence around your backyard and you throw it back there, I really don't care.
I don't really
As
care
long as I
either.
can't see it.
If I was your neighbor and if it was screened, I probably wouldn't say boo. But
And there again, too, I think you get the first couple of years, it's probably gonna be a lot. I mean, drive around town and seriously look at these places, a lot of them. There's a lot of stuff there. It's gonna cost a lot probably the first couple of years. But if it dwindles and then, you know,
Cheaper.
Yeah.
if 15 houses in town keep 1 stove in their yard instead of
Hellier,
14 stoves in their yard.
you talked to
we've
the
done
fucking
something.
Hellier, they did it like 8 years ago until it got too expensive and people came from outside of the city and put things in there. My hometown of Ely does it. Their refuse company in the local area brings 3 or
Always
4
gonna-
roll-offs and puts it next to their,
We're
Harm
gonna
for a
have
week.
abuse.
It's gonna happen. When I was over there,
yeah,
it happened. But on the flip side, you also had the pickers come through.
yes, that's right. We had pickers even at the
When,
pond.
when everything goes out onto the curb, as
Yep.
soon as cause it's usually about a week ahead of time, people will start putting stuff out.
Yep,
And you'll have pickers every night come through and you'll be amazed at how much leaves town. It just goes away.
Or it goes to your neighbors.
Well, that's possible too,
that is
but
possible.
if they can use it and it's not in the yard, have at it.
Yeah.
You know?
Like a sport and farm one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Grand Forks, same way. Oh,
Yep,
man.
there's people that just cruise the alleys every day in
Yeah.
those big towns, just looking for
Look
what
for
gets put out.
reuse.
Well, a lot of people put a lot of good stuff out.
Because they don't know how to get rid of it.
Done.
Not one of them.
User.
Not one of them. I know people that go over to Firewall and Grand Forks and do that when they have the citywide cleanup.
Yeah.
Put up, really beautiful furniture out there because they know it and get rid of it. People come along.
Yeah, people take it, they just want it gone.
And then reclaim it.
I personally did have though a problem with that, with the pictures. And that is because the customer had left their tiller
Oh,
in their driveway for me to pick up.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Well, everybody just gotta know that that time of year, you don't leave stuff. out.
And from the time it took me to get from
Yeah,
that house to there,
I can believe it.
it was gone.
Yeah.
So can we just come full circle here so maybe you guys can get home tonight? We want to continue it.
We do want to.
We want to look at either a hybrid of using a bin or using John's refuse as maybe coming to pick up at curbside
That's the way I would do it.
and or this, maybe the city staff picks up scrap metal
If
On a
you're,
separate day,
if you're gonna have Johns come,
yeah,
then you have them pick it up right at curbside.
Okay.
That makes the most sense, and then again, that keeps a little bit of accountability on people that
yes,
And it keeps,
don't put stuff out here that they won't take.
See what the cost is gonna be for them.
Yeah.
I'll have Peg
Yeah.
put some numbers together for
That's
you.
gonna be
We've got some time.
super, super hard for them to say, but if they can even ballpark it.
Ballpark it.
They've been great people since we moved over from West Management to them too. Wonderful people to work with.
And yeah, there's a possibility that we would, you know, do the scrap
The
metal.
scrap
portion
metal
of it,
day,
You know. We're not gonna take stuff that we have to break down, you know, a bunch of plastic off of it and things
Yeah.
like that, but,
yeah,
you know. Stove, refrigerator, washing machine, most of that stuff is, you know,
doable.
yeah.
Well, I really appreciate this feedback because I think the planning commission's thought process, they're in a good idea, but they're also, you know, giving recommendations to utilizing taxpayer dollars where they feel it more your board's decision being able to do that, especially after last year. Correct. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the feedback.
for the next agenda, we'll have my appointment to the HRDC on there.
Yes, so that appointments need to go in there.
And I wrote a paragraph for the Boys and Girls Club because they're applying for a grant.
You need to
No, so you
give
can
this
keep-
to them, this is just up for file,
That's just a for, yeah,
okay,
Have you seen this?
you want one or not?
I've read it. It's okay. I'm here with everything you said.
Okay.
Are you entertaining a motion to adjourn?
sounds like you just did.
Always,
I will make a motion to adjourn.
all in favor. Yeah, we stand adjourned. I thank you all for your time.
Thanks, Mike.